everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Make Happiness Podcast. This week, I'm super excited. A couple of reasons. One, because we have three mics, so we got Eli, the producer, is going to be on, and then we also have a very cool guest, Leah.
I'm shaking my jazz hands right now.
She's really awesome. I met her through my roommate's fiance, and she's got a really cool, unique perspective, and she's doing a lot of really fun stuff, and she's just enjoying life, so I thought it'd be really fun to have her on, so... Yeah, tell me a little about, let the people know who you are and what you do.
All right, so I am 24 years old. I live in Uptown in Minneapolis, and I have been a dancer for my whole life. I remember when I was 16 in high school, and we got let out of our class to go to the library and take tests on what we wanted to be when we grew up.
Oh, yeah.
And I was so stressed out because I was like, How am I supposed to know this at this age? Like, the only thing I know that I want to do is dance. And I didn't really know what that looked like for my life. I always thought I would have to move to LA or New York and, chase some crazy endeavor, which is totally a possibility.
Right.
But instead, I chose to stay here and keep building some really cool connections. And about a year ago, I started Red Hot Rascals, which is a cabaret group.
I didn't know that you were one of the people who actually started it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, I sure did. I had been dreaming this little dream for about 5 years.
Wow.
And I had actually asked people in the past if they wanted to be involved. I was like, I see lights and dancers and I don't know, do you want to do this thing? And people were like, sure, but I never started it. And then
how many people are in it now?
Now we have 8 dancers, including myself, 2 drag queens, and
Cool.
1 flow artist.
Where do you guys play or perform?
Can Wonderland is kind of our number one.
Okay.
So we're at Can Wonderland every other month. So our next show is December 15th. It's titled Femme Fatale. And we're also going to be getting into Amsterdam Bar, hopefully. That's kind of in the works right now. And then the Poorhouse downtown,
cool.
Maybe Uptown Poorhouse too. So just kind
That's
of
awesome.
trying to infiltrate.
So were you in gym, what did you do when you were 16? Was that ballet or what kind of dancing did you do way back before you started this?
Yeah, way back, I was trained in everything. So I did a lot of ballet training, which really helped the core of all of my movement. It helps you build strength, and it's a very classic form of dance.
Okay. How did you get into that? Just curiosity, or you just it started, dancing in your room or something with music, and then you started to realize you loved it, or how did that passion start?
There was a lot of that. There was a lot of dancing in my bedroom.
Yes.
And envisioning things from a young age, and I didn't even know what my vision was at that point. I just would see things and want to make them real. But I actually was put into dance class when I was 3 years old.
Oh, wow.
So I just really grew up with it.
That's awesome. So I was curious, you also do hairstyling, right? And that's your main, that's what you make money from, and that's kind of your day job?
Yeah, I actually have a lot of mini day jobs.
Oh, okay.
It's strange. My life is strange. So I do hair a couple times a week. I just rent a chair at this small salon in Uptown.
That's awesome.
So, yeah. Sometimes I deliver groceries.
Oh, cool.
Just picking up random dance gigs here and there.
So is there a reason why you've never kind of conformed to a regular job and a normal kind of 9-to-5 thing?
Well, it's funny. I have actually. When I first started doing hair, I was working 40 hours a week at the salon. And it really wore on me physically, mentally, emotionally. The salon is not always a super positive place. It can really be cool when someone wants you to come in and transform their whole identity.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of long days, and your back hurts, and you're sometimes cutting your fingers on accident, and the bleach and the fumes, So
right, it's constant.
I just got really tired of it really quickly.
How long did you do that full time?
Oh man, not even a full year.
Oh wow.
And that was kind of when I had just started Red Hot Rascals, and I knew that if I didn't give the Rascals my full priority, it would crumble.
Right.
So I knew something had to shift, and that was what I chose.
That's awesome. Was it easy to make that decision?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, the salon that I worked at the time, it's a really cool place. It's called Pompadour. It's on Nicollet and 38th, and I really do support everything they do. It's a woman-owned business. She built it from money that she had saved up from serving, and
wow.
It had been open for a couple of years, and I was with them like pretty much from the very beginning. So I had a lot of emotional ties.
Sure,
to the salon in general,
and you're still involved in it with a little bit, which is cool too. So you
Yeah.
didn't completely separate yourself from it.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually at a new salon now.
Oh, okay.
The one I work at part-time. So I did separate myself, but it's okay. You know, that's just life.
Exactly. Yeah. There's different chapters and whatnot, and things
Yeah.
move.
Yeah.
So what made that decision difficult for you to kind of, take a step back from doing the hair and these other things, then focusing more on the dance and the real, enjoyment or passion that you had for creating this idea?
I think part of what makes that kind of decision really scary is obviously financial reasons.
100%.
That's the biggest scare. But I think a bigger part of it that we don't always realize is I think we're more afraid of our own potential and like having the freedom to make either like the most grand ideas and decisions or to kind of downfall and fail a couple times, and that's really scary.
Yeah, having that like, being afraid to try something and then just completely fall on your face. Yeah, that's cool.
That's real.
But the fact that you actually took that leap of faith is awesome, because a lot of people are just petrified to do that. Like so many people have these great ideas, but they're just not willing to take that risk.
Yeah.
What's your advice to have or give to people listening to take that risk and take that leap?
It sounds so typical,
Hey.
and I know you already probably know what I'm going to say, but it's honestly just start doing it. Like, that's my only answer.
Start.
I had a very small plan. I knew I was going to start with a promo video to, I think that's the best way to show people what we do is through video.
Especially with this day and age with social media and stuff.
Yeah. So I gathered a very small group of artists, and I reached out to so many theaters to see where I could shoot this thing. And I actually wound up shooting it at my old high school.
That's crazy.
I got a crazy deal on it because the guy running the theater knows my dad from high school.
Yeah.
And
that's what it's about. Just those connections.
Yeah. So I just started with that. And then, God, my first audition, I only had 4 people show up. And one of them is still with us today. Shout out to Rebecca, the OG Rascal.
That's awesome.
And then our second audition, 6 months later, we had a full room. So. And
I was curious too about the name. I don't know if you touched on this. How did you guys come up with that, or how did you come up with Red Hot Rascals? What is that meaning?
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in front of my notebook, just writing different words down.
Okay. Just ideas and
words and phrases that I had a connection to.
Oh, sure.
Bedazzlement or kooky or femme or and I just whatever I felt a connection to, I just wrote it down. And then I got really into the idea of red hot. That was kind of what started to drive it. Red hot. And I was like, okay, red hot, that means fire, that means passion, that means standing out from the crowd.
It's exciting.
There's a lot of drive behind it and fire. And I really connect to fire in a lot of ways.
Is that why you dyed your hair red?
It's a part of it. It's part of it for sure. But then I actually remember reaching out to a lot of my friends, and I had 3 choices, and one was Red Hot Pistols. Okay. Another one was, oh man, I don't know if I remember the third one. It was something else that would not have made as much sense.
I was going to say,
Rascals.
obviously, if you didn't remember it, then it wasn't important.
It wasn't important, yeah. And Rascals stood out for a few reasons. And obviously, Red Hot Rascals, that it flows. It flows off the tongue. It's catchy. But the word rascal, I jive with it a lot. it's cheeky. It's you're a goof. You're a little misbehaving fool, but you're cute still,
Yeah.
And that's what we are. We are all a bunch of rascals.
That's awesome. I really like that. That's cool.
Yeah.
This is going to go a little bit more into the happiness and stuff, because obviously happiness podcast, we got to talk about that a little bit.
Gotta.
What do you think the difference is between happiness and joy, if there is a difference?
Wow. I think joy comes from, it's kind of more of like an everlasting feeling that you just build upon over time.
Okay.
And I think happiness is found in those little moments when everything just kind of starts to sink in and time kind of stops for a second and you're just truly appreciating everything that is and has been and will be.
Sure. So you think joy is more long-term, happiness is more short-term?
Maybe not necessarily short-term versus long-term, but I think they have different effects on your body, Like, I think of joy as more of acceptance,
Like
and
internal?
Yeah, and happiness it's something that just comes upon you and it takes over your whole being,
Because when I don't know, I've had this thought because I was conversating with someone at school about it. But when you say that you're enjoying life, right? Like that is a statement of joy. But if you say you're enjoying something, are you also happy? Well, I think they coincide with each other.
Yeah.
Because if you're enjoying something, that obviously means you're happy, right? Or you'd think so, at least.
Yeah, that's a funny subject because I was actually just talking about this earlier with a friend of mine about how sometimes being unhappy can actually be a really positive thing sometimes because it drives you to find happiness again.
But not with everyone. I know some people who their drive is like they won't take any action on it. Like you were saying earlier, they'll just dig themselves a hole and sit in there because they want someone else to feel guilty for them. But it's like, that's not going to do any benefit.
If I can interject here. Hi, I bet you guys forgot I was here. I haven't talked in 12 minutes, but that was something that Maddie actually talked about last week was, the motivation is to not be in that place anymore. I don't know if you remember when she said that, but, the like negativity and being unhappy can be a motivation to be like, oh, this sucks. I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
Go find something and do something that does make you happy.
Right.
Brings you joy. So.
Or even finding happiness in being uncomfortable or being scared or being sad. Sometimes I can find this strange happiness in the fact that I'm sad. I don't know how that works.
No, the more I'm realizing, I've had a couple of those moments recently where it's like I'm in a really low energy level state, but yet I'm still happy as far as the entirety of my life. And, I have so many things to be grateful for and excited about. So it's like, even in the one moment of unhappiness or sadness, I still have a very joyful life where, it's filled with the good things.
Everyone has those moments though.
Yeah.
It's not something that's like you have a bad moment and you're just like, oh no, can't be happy
it's
anymore.
Game over.
Yeah,
right.
It's game over. So
pick yourself back up.
Well, Eli, what about the people who don't, who dig themselves a hole or they're not unhappy? And this is for you, Leah, too. But like, how do they get that motivation if they don't want to change, Like people who just are accepting the fact that they're never going to get out of it or they have no hope, those kind of people, like the extreme end of it.
You have to want to change because I've watched it. I've been very close to some people and wanted to save them because it's terrible to watch that happen to somebody.
100%.
But if they aren't willing,
nothing's going to happen.
No, because they're never going to listen to what anybody else has to say or even what their own brain might be telling them.
Sure. So they have to come to that realization.
They have to want it. They have to want to be in a better place.
It's like people struggling with addiction.
Yeah.
You can't force someone to not be addicted to something because it's not in their mindset of being that way.
Yeah.
You like the people who are, have that addictive or, they're going through something, they have to come to that realization first because it's not in their standard to change.
And I also think a lot of people are addicted to being sad or being, beat on by the world or being...
beating themselves up.
Yeah.
It's got to be like a brain chemistry thing, like something involved. I'm using terms here that I don't fully understand, but something like to do with like dopamine or something like that.
Right, serotonin levels.
Yeah, like that kind of thing.
For sure.
Well, I know like when you feel sorry for yourself a lot, then that in return, I think after coming out of those situations, you feel a lot more love for yourself internally too. So I think that might be a part of it, because I know like when I'm in a really depressing state, right on the opposite end of that, I get super happy and in love with myself, and I'm really appreciative of like what I'm doing. But
is that like an understanding of like, oh, is it like a moment of realization that you're unhappy and you're like, I don't want to do this? Yeah. And you know that you can be there? Or
well, it's more or less I let the external environment get to me, and then I kind of I have to get to a point I'm like, wait a minute, Ian, like you're letting these other things get to you that you don't
getting out of your head.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Since on the topic of like mental health, have you ever to deal with any kind of stuff like that internally? And if so, how did you get out of it, and how do you deal with self-love and kind of, being happy with yourself and not letting insecurities and that other stuff affect you?
I think that's something that I'm just learning as I go. Okay. And I don't think I've really found a complete answer for myself yet. I've definitely dealt with a lot of depression and anxiety in my life, and I think that they come together. They kind of travel as a pair.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh man, self-doubt all the time. I'm constantly thinking I'm not, especially now that I have this team of individuals that are counting on me, to keep not only my dream but their dream alive. And I'm constantly getting down on myself. I haven't done enough. I'm not doing enough.
So you just put that pressure on yourself?
Yeah.
How do you stay on top of it and not let it explode?
What I like to do, just kind of as a general practice, is look back at where I was a year ago. The people I was hanging out with, the things I was putting my time into, my trial and error, and where I've come since then.
Just reflecting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's easy to see your growth that way.
Totally.
And I think, social media, it has a lot of negative effects on our life, but I also think like Instagram has become my journal. And I love to look back on where I was a year ago through Instagram and see what I was writing about and what pain I was feeling or what was getting me down, what was lifting me up, and how that has changed over time.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I've noticed too, you've been posting a lot of like inspirational quotes or other like meaningful stuff on your stories, and it's really awesome. Is there like anything that sparked that, or is that just like what you're feeling? And then you're like, hey, I wanted to share this with other people.
It's what I'm feeling, and I just want other people to know. I want to share an enlightened state of mind with people. I want other people to feel that way. And I also want people to know that I'm not just like this sparkles and glitz wearing and jazz hands and hairography chick. I'm not just the sparkly side of performing. I've been through shit and I go through shit every day, and it's not easy, and I'm really, really poor. I'm so poor. I don't make any money at all, but
how much of an impact have you made through the shows just on people?
So much. And just these little messages that I get from my cast members every now and then, just randomly. Hey, I'm boarding this flight, and I just want you to know that this, and this that you've taught me, and you've made me feel that I can do these things. And hey, Leah, I appreciate you so much. Those things keep my life rich.
Yeah.
Whether or not I can buy a $50 plate of sushi versus a $1 pack of ramen for dinner,
That's awesome. So you find the more value in like the emotional side or having an impact on other people versus like a monetary value?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's good. Because a lot of like if your drive is money, then I think you're never going to be ultimately happy or fulfilled. You got to have that ambition to not necessarily inspire others, but impact other people or help other people in some sort of way. How can you serve other human beings? I think that's the ultimate, goal to fulfillment, or easiest. It's simple. It's not easy, but.
Right. Yes. I like that you said that. Simple, but not easy.
Yes.
That's true.
You got to quote that put that on like a T-shirt or something.
Well, I'm sure
there you go. Make happiness T-shirt.
That'd be cool. I don't know. Someone's probably said that before, though. I'm sure I'm not the first.
Well, yeah, but you can put it in your own words.
Yeah, fair enough. So going into, I want to talk a little bit about, I know we say this literally every week, but education for you. I don't know if you've gone to school or what you feel about that.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I feel a lot of things about organized
schooling.
Yeah. I went to 1 year of community college.
Oh, okay. Cool.
When I graduated high school.
Was that for hairstyling, I would assume?
No, I was just taking general credits. I think I took like an acting class.
Oh.
And some writing and reading and a math class that I dropped out of because I hate math. But I'm just not good at it, let's be real. But my brain doesn't think that way. I'm such a right-brained person.
Yeah.
You know? But anyways, so, yeah, and I was dancing in this company at the time, and I just knew that I wasn't gonna decide that's what I wanted to do with my life. And so I just stopped and I went and I got a yoga certification. And
oh, cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I taught yoga for a while and then I stopped for a while. I'll probably start again soon.
Do you still practice yoga?
I do sometimes at home. I haven't been to a class in a really long time, but I use it to warm up dancers sometimes.
Oh, that makes sense.
You know, and meditation techniques, and I use it every day. It's really shaped the way that I just think in general.
Sure. And
feel in general.
This is also, I don't know why I guess the stretching made me think of it, but have you ever had any like injuries or something in a performance or like any, stories of that nature?
Well, I haven't had a serious injury from dance in a long time. I pulled a hamstring a long time ago. It was pretty shitty, but
yeah,
nothing major. I definitely will probably be in a wheelchair long before most people will, because it's not easy on your body. It's a lot of
jumping and impact.
A lot of impact. And just doing things that your body's not necessarily meant to do.
And I know that there's a lot of different ways of dancing too. Like there's choreographed stuff and other, I don't even the technical terms, but like what is your favorite type of dance? Or like what's the kind of stuff that you particularly enjoy the most?
I can't even answer that question.
Okay.
Because I love it all for what it is. The difference between going to a ballet class and being told what to do and that it's supposed to look a certain way, there's a challenge in that. But there's also a challenge in going out to perform in front of a whole room of people and just freestyling the whole thing and just using your emotions to literally guide every single movement.
That's cool.
There's such a difference between that and then hip hop. I love hip hop. It's a really freeing form of dance. I just kind of get lost in the music in a different way than I do with other styles.
Yeah. I assume since you dance a fair amount to music, then you probably have a lot of interest in music as well.
Yeah.
So do you have
absolutely
the way, whenever you're listening to certain songs, do you dance a certain way? Do they correlate with each other?
Yeah. One of my biggest drives in life, whether that's in a yoga class or with choreography or with a project, is giving a piece of music like a home or a bigger reason behind it or a new reason behind it.
Yeah.
That's
cool.
And so I like to, whether it's a really subtle movement, like literally just moving my fingers, or the biggest jump, or like just
crazy,
flailing my body around, I like to emulate what I think that artist was feeling when they wrote the song.
That's awesome. Do you enjoy it, or whenever you're like just listening to music at home, not dancing, do you listen to the music that you dance to usually? Or like if let's say you're setting up for something, do you like to listen to that and kind of study it religiously, or do you just play it by ear?
Yeah. If I'm like, for instance, I did this solo, I did it twice now. I've performed it twice and it was different each time. I used the song Creep by Radiohead, but it was a different version.
Okay.
it was this kind of old school version by Scott Bradley's Postmodern Jukebox.
Oh, cool.
And it's so intricate. There's these little really subtle piano, and then there's moments where the singer is just wailing, you know. So I studied that song so much.
Yeah, so you could kind of like, you know, play accordingly to it or match the same feel of it.
Know what's coming and be able to think on the spot.
Yeah.
But still know what my intention behind my next move is going to be.
Yeah. See,
it's good to have a plan of attack rather than to just be like, what's going on?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So if dancing is obviously a huge passion for you, do you ever get burned out from it? You know, running this thing, being in charge of all these little things you have to do?
Yeah, I do. It it hits me at random moments, and that's part of the pressure, you know, of knowing that I can't give up and I don't want to give up. But sometimes it does get hard.
Right.
Because
there's a million things to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not just the creative side. It's also emails and the website and making set lists and designing the costumes.
Just the organization of it all.
There's so much. Yeah.
But would you trade it for anything else?
No, never.
It's a loaded question.
Never, ever, ever.
Fair enough.
It's my baby.
Where do you want to grow? What do you want it to become?
My first plan of attack is to take over the city. I think
I love that.
I think Minneapolis
Evil genius status.
Yeah. Minneapolis has so much potential. We have so many amazing performers, and I think we're really open to art, and you know, we've birthed many really amazing people. Slug, you know, Atmosphere, Prince, Bob Dylan, you know, and we have it. We totally have it. My group is so amazing, and I just want the rest of Minneapolis to get on board with the ideas, you know? And then I would love for us to travel and just keep telling different stories.
And do like tours of some sort?
Yeah.
Cool. I didn't even know you could do that as like a dance team. Like,
yeah.
That's awesome.
So would not be easy, but
yeah. Have you ever done like events like, you know, if it's like, I don't even know, I'm thinking of a music festival but is there like dance festivals that are equivalent to that?
There's definitely opportunity. Yeah. And, you know, I'm just trying to take one thing at a time.
Yeah.
And really focus on producing good work for what's right in front of me.
Right.
And
so you have a quality, you know, you're proud of what you're doing now before you expand and do other things.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
There's a lot of time, but also not enough.
Yeah. That's one thing I'm learning. Patience and time is a whole new thing. It's like there's so many things I want to do, but it's like just go slow and just enjoy it while it's here, and just things will come. Just be patient and just, you know, let it unfold over the 10 years or 20 years rather than wanting it so instantly. Because I feel like in this world, everything is so instant.
Yeah.
It's really hard to take a step back and understand that, like, it is a process. It is going to take.
Everything is. Okay, so I have a question for you.
Yeah, go for it.
That somebody else asked me about a month ago.
Sure.
What do you think the greatest force in the world is?
Greatest force? Definitely internal. I think greatest force, something inside of you, you know, that spark, that desire. Like when you started dancing in your room at a really young age, that was a force, you know, that you just instantly had that, I don't know, something happened in your brain where you're like, I enjoy this. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Even when you're at 16 and all you could think about was dance. Like, I think that having that moment, and I believe everyone has that moment.
Yeah.
It might be more prominent for other people, but everyone has that moment. And if you can't think of that moment right now as I'm saying this, it is there. You just got to sit in a room and like really dig deep into yourself. But having that desire to just pursue one thing forever, I think that's the force that is ultimately what you should do. But
cool.
I think it's difficult to make desire go away.
Yeah.
Like, you can't undo that. Like, it's like if you want something, how can you tell yourself, oh, I don't really want that, but inside you kind of like, yeah, I do.
Like for you, the desire was music, I would assume, right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, just
what do you mean, sure?
Sure. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, I got to work at a couple studios, and just I've probably said this before, like on one of the first couple podcasts, but like when someone's recording or whatever they may be doing on like a mic or something or musically, just when it comes together and they just get super excited, that like feeling they get, and they like maybe like they'll jump around, they'll be like, yes, that came together. And I
purity. That's a pure moment.
I like when people get to have that moment, or like when something comes together really well. It's satisfying and rewarding.
Yeah. Cool.
I was curious, what was your response to that question? What's the force?
I said love.
Oh, that's a good one.
And I don't mean necessarily romantic love. I think that's a facet of it. But love for yourself, true love for yourself, love for life, love for all living beings, just I think it's so powerful how if you spread that out, it just comes right back to you. And you're just building this ladder of empowerment and allowing people to be everything that they can be.
Right. No, that's really cool. And I like that you say that love in not just a sense of like relationship or intimacy, but like a real love of like passion and appreciation and just that 110% into everything you do, which is awesome because it's like real faith and real, trust in yourself and in other people, and not trust that they'll do the right thing, but trust in yourself that the universe or whatever you want to call it is going to do the right thing for you.
Right.
But
and that's another. I think I was reading this quote by Alan Watts last night, and what Eli said about desire. I can't put it into exact words because he is so profound in everything that he says, but it was something along the lines of desire is there to give you faith in the universe bringing you what you need, and you might not realize it right away.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Alan Watts is insane. He has so many like really crazy articulate quotes.
He's kind of like Einstein in the way that he'll make such a huge idea.
Yeah.
So he'll just lay it out so simple in one sentence. And you're like, that's what I was feeling? I didn't even know. But you said it, and now I know it.
No, it's really cool. So I'm curious, you talked earlier about giving stuff out and receiving. I would assume you've heard of the law of attraction?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's real. That is real shit.
I love it. Do you, when you're using law of attraction, do you focus more on the thing that you want or the end goal, or do you focus more on just giving value to other people or giving, stuff away?
I look at it more so as just always trying to be my most authentic self. And just telling the truth, speaking my truth, and that others will do the same. And it will just circulate more positivity in general.
Sure.
I don't necessarily look at it to benefit me or benefit the other person.
Right.
I just think as a whole, benefiting everything around me.
Because when you are your authentic self, that is when you're in the most in tune with loving yourself and all those other things we just talked about.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And just not necessarily trying to get anything out of other people. Just allowing them to be their most authentic self. And
like we were talking about earlier, how you got those messages that they inspired you or you inspired them, and then that was you never would have expected that wasn't your intention, but it happened.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
It's beautiful.
It's kind of like what you can do with your reward of like what you've attracted rather than the reward itself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly, Eli. High five.
Yeah, that was a really good way of putting it. I don't know. I think we just covered a shitload of stuff, and that was really cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have anything else I want to talk about. Do you have any?
I do, actually.
Yeah.
Back to, you said this maybe 20 minutes ago, but you were saying like you hated math because you weren't good at it. And like how you feel about that, like how people in general typically hate what they aren't good at.
Oh.
It's a good question.
Yeah. Okay, so what are you asking me? That's what I want.
Why do you think that is? Why do you
I think people hate things that they're not good at?
Because they're not good at it. I
fear
mean,
like fear of failure, maybe?
It's frustrating. okay, so me and my relationship with math is completely different than me with my relationship with other things that I'm not good at. Okay, so let's trace this back. Math, oh my God. Why do we need to be learning algebra? Like, for my life, I don't care. I don't need it. Mm-hmm. I just knew that right away. I was like, I'm not going to use this ever.
But what about accounting for the books or for anything for your business?
I don't think you use algebra for that.
You just need to know like simple math for that. Yeah. Which like, okay, give me a calculator. I got it. Fine. Anyways, so that's why I hated it, because I was like, why am I being forced to do this? Why am I not going to do well in life if I can't tell you why pi equals x? You know, like stupid shit. Okay? I'm getting heated just thinking about it. I don't like the school system. Okay? So that's that. But then, okay, when I learned this new form of dance last year, krump. Yeah, it's, oh my God. That's a whole nother subject. I could talk about that for a whole podcast. But anyways, I was very frustrated because it was so different from other forms of dance that I had been doing my whole life. Mm-hmm. I wasn't good at it right away. But guess what? I trained and I trained and I trained for 6 months. My excel rate was amazing because I put my mind to it. And yes, it made me mad. But no, I didn't hate it. You know, I got frustrated, and I let that be a drive to make me do better.
You wanted to be able to do
that's
better.
what I was going to say.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. Or with cooking. Like, I'm not a great cook. But sure, I'll get frustrated. I'll spend some time out of the kitchen for a week, make some microwave meals. But I'll go back a week later, find a new recipe, make some chili. Great.
You don't get discouraged by it.
I don't know.
But why
I might, but it'll pass.
Exactly. But why is your passion and your hatred for math so prominent that it'll never change?
Because I just don't think it's necessary for everyone. I think if you want to be a mathematician, if you are like the next Einstein, again, we're going to bring him back up, great. Go be a genius. I support it. Okay? But I don't think we should be telling people what they need to know to be a successful human. I think that we should let people figure that out for themselves.
That's a thought-provoking quote there.
Yeah. What about people who need to have that guide, though? Because there are some people who need to have some sort of direction. They need to have that extra push to be like, hey, well, you can try this, you can do this, just learn these basics, and then go from there.
I think maybe we just need to, like, predetermine what the basics are.
Okay.
What the basics need to be and should be. Mm-hmm. You know, like, why don't we learn more about sewing and, like, how to do our taxes and, I don't know, how to get your own health insurance.
Real life applicable subjects.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we touched on this in the last podcast, but I thought it was like, why don't we have a class that's mandatory that talks about mental health, you know, how to deal with depression or anxiety? Like, why is that not a mandatory thing?
Oh, my God.
I suppose there are like health classes in high school and stuff.
I did take like a teen stress management class,
but it's like those
we
are
slept
electives.
A lot. We like took naps.
Yeah.
Well,
weird. I mean, there's like because we had like 10th grade health or something like that, and there was like one class out of an entire high school thing that
it's not enough.
Brushes over it in like a unit.
Yeah.
So why do you think people they hate what they're bad at?
Man.
Let's hear it.
I wasn't ready for this.
Right?
I suppose it does have to do with frustration. Like you feel like maybe you don't want to feel that way, so you brush it off and go into something you already know you're good at. Or if you don't know you're good at something, you just go on and try something else. Like for me, I do well in math, but writing classes for me are difficult because I just don't. It's like for me, I don't like care enough. It's like why. When we were in high school, we had to like write essays all the time. And it's like, why do you care what my opinion on this is? And, like, do you really care, or is it just the fact that you want to see me, like, put the words on the paper and like it's like, all right, here this is. Like, I get that, but it's just not something I'd like to spend a ton of time on.
You'd rather invest more into something else.
It doesn't seem like it's worth it to me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, students spend hours and hours and hours writing these papers that they probably won't think about for any other time in their life. But I mean, you know, there's outliers there, but you know, like a college thesis is completely different than a paper on I don't know, like Catcher in the Rye.
Yeah, I see. I loved writing classes.
Yeah, same here. But see, my thing about school, like, there wasn't any one subject or anything that I absolutely despised and would not invest anything into, because I knew long term it's like, this sucks now, but I know in the long run, 10 years from now, I can benefit from it. Like, I used to take, my mom forced me to take piano lessons. I hated piano. I hated going to piano recitals. I hated learning how to play piano and reading music. But like, now 10 years later, I'm really happy that she made me go, because now I somewhat know how to play the piano. I mean, I obviously can't read music as good as I used to, but I still have, little bits and pieces of it.
That I agree with that. Like, there's nothing that I'd feel like I just like take for granted, or just anything in my life that I feel like that was a waste of time, really, because it's let me learn something. It's let me
expand.
Expand. It's let me what's the word I'm looking for?
Grow. I don't know.
Like, live it. It's let me be a part of it, and that's something I can expand on or grow from. It's not. I don't think there's any experience in life that's a waste.
There you go.
I agree. I don't believe in regret. I say that all the time.
That's cool.
Yeah. I believe in regretting not having done something. I don't believe in regretting having done
things
something.
you have done.
Yeah.
Well, so how do you handle fear then? Like taping, like doing something that you're really scared of, but it's going to benefit long term. You don't like. How do you get over that? Because that's a pretty big barrier to leap or like get over.
That's a hard question. It depends on what kind of fear you're talking about. What kind of fear are you talking about?
Something that's going to help you personal develop, either emotionally or with business or with dance or whatever. But I'm not talking, because we talked about this the last episode too. I'm not talking about like getting raped or something, or like something really drastic, like
okay, a big show coming up.
Yeah,
I'm scared to
perform well, or there's an opportunity, or like something like that.
I just use, again, my past experiences. I've been to a lot of places. I've seen a lot of things. I've done some weird things. I used to be in a jug band. That's weird.
What did you play?
A lot of things, like the kazoo or the slide whistle. Played the guitar once.
That's funny.
Sang Santeria.
That's cool.
But I've been in a lot of weird places, and I've had the opportunity to perform in some big venues. And I kind of just always tell myself, like, every new opportunity that I get, okay, well, look at all that you've done. What's the worst that could happen?
Right.
Going back to the reflecting you were talking about earlier. Just looking back.
I'll just be like, okay, if you can perform at A, B, and C, you can perform at D, which is the next one. You know?
Yeah.
It's just, I try to tell myself, like, you're capable. You're so capable.
It's the same concept. It's just the place that's different, or the circumstances are slightly not quite the same.
Yeah.
But the overall idea is the same. Yep.
I get nervous every single time I perform.
I was going to ask that.
Every single time.
No matter what?
No matter what.
Even if it's like in front of your friends?
Yeah. I think sometimes, especially if my friends
sometimes
are in the audience.
As a performer or whatever, in front of your friends, it feels like there's more pressure on you for some reason.
I guess that makes sense.
Maybe not pressure on you, but because I know my friends are some of my biggest supporters, and they're not dancers, so I could do something really stupid and they'd still be like, wow, that was amazing.
Yeah.
But okay, well, I do have a lot of friends that are dancers, but a lot of my friends also aren't, and they come to my shows and they love everything that I do, and it's amazing, and I love that about them. I'm very thankful for their support, but I think on my end it's more self-inflicted pressure. Like, I just want them to be so amazed. I just want to be like, you took the time out of your day,
their time was worth it,
to come watch me. I want to give you a great show.
Yeah, I want to perform it the best I can do.
Yeah, and I want it to be better than the last time you saw me.
Yeah. That's cool. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That makes me think of I think it was Ringo Starr or whatever. He was saying, like, every time he, like, even after all these years of being a performer, he still gets nervous, like, walking up to the mic. Like, I think it was Ringo Starr. Be like, yeah, he runs up to the mic just so he can get there. He doesn't want to just, like, that's like his vice. Like, he can he has the mic in front of him, and that's
beautiful.
Yeah.
David Bowie also said something about the fact that he hated his own singing voice, and he hated singing.
Interesting.
But then he said somebody has to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that he's one of my favorite people ever.
Okay.
Like, if I could bring him back from the dead and just sit down and have a conversation
He's
with
the
him,
one.
He's the one. I think he was like a really true pioneer for a lot of things. People that are different and eccentric, and just he lived his truth.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about earlier, he really
was his real self.
Yeah, and just some of the things that he says, like, that's so humble for him to say, I hate the sound of my own singing voice. And he did have a weird voice.
Yeah.
But he had really good things to say and to show people. And so he did it anyway. And I think that's really cool. Like, a lot of times when I see videos of myself dancing, I'm like, ew, what am I doing? What is my foot doing? That looks terrible. But what other people see is raw emotion and me not being afraid to tell a story.
Sure.
And go crazy.
Well, I think a lot of, like, whenever you're looking back at your own thing, you know, because it's yours, everyone looks at the things they don't like.
Right.
No one looks at the things that they like. Like, that's just human nature, I think, when we're looking back on our own creations, our own stuff.
We're very critical of ourselves.
Yeah. And I think that can be a positive, especially for people that want to excel at their craft.
Oh, yeah.
But nothing's ever going to be perfect, and that's the thing.
Never.
Like, with my poetry, my writing, it's like I always look back and I'm like, oh, I wish I did this, I wish I did that, but it's like...
I think that's a key to understand about yourself is, like, we can't nail everything right on the head. We have to understand that. That's the point of reflection, as you were saying.
Right.
Like, we learn from, you know, mistakes we've made or things we wish we'd done better.
Cool. This has been awesome. I think this is really fun.
Jazz hands again.
Yeah. Cool. I think that just about wraps everything up. Do you have any final words for the audience?
Oh, man. Just go out there and love. Love yourself. Love each other. Love life. That's it. Thanks, Ian. Thank you, Eli.
Of course. Thanks for being on the show. Yeah, so stay tuned. We got a bunch of other stuff. We'll have more guests soon. And also, I just released, I touched on it last week, but I got an event coming up in January. It's going to be epic. It's at Honest Studios. I'm super excited. So, yeah, hope to see you guys there, and stay tuned for next week.
I think we should plug your thing a little bit more here. It's January 5th.
Yes.
Honest Studios in Minneapolis.
Yeah, right off of Washington. It's actually right next to the downtown Spy House, so it's like really close.
Okay.
And what time?
Yeah, what time?
5 p.m., 5 to 8, 5 to 9-ish. Depends, but yeah, starts at 5. There's going to be an artist showcase. I'm actually trying to get the artist on this podcast, so hopefully that pans out beforehand, but he doesn't live in Minnesota, so we'll see. Fingers crossed.
Cool.
Yeah, it's going to be epic.
Excited.
That's right. There's going to be way more of me talking about it too, so.
Awesome. I'll be there.
Cool. Bring your friend.
Oh, I'll bring all my friends.
Perfect.
All right.
Right on. Well, thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye, everyone.